I think the first time I saw something of yours, it was a Facebook or an Instagram ad, and it was talking about your whole direct farm roadmap thing, and I was like, "Oh, this is great!" Because I mean, like, I feel like courses online have exploded in the past 2 or 3 years, and so it's great that it's happening in the ag world too. So, like, how exactly did you get into like making that? Like, what drove you to making that course?
Yeah, so that's a little bit of a long story. I'll try to condense it as much as I can. My background's in business. I went to school for business marketing. Done a lot of different things. Started a few different businesses. I actually ran some different agencies. I did video work for quite a while. Told brand stories, and actually did some destination weddings and a little bit of that kind of stuff. And then through COVID, started farming myself personally. So I don't know if we
Hmm.
connected on that. But I personally have a pastured poultry, pastured pork. I did some lambs this year. And we also do some eggs, and so I personally had that operation, and then started to kind of put two and two together, right, about my previous skills and knowledge, with the farming world that I now was a part of, and learning and growing so much in, and then it just was a natural combination, like you said, that course creation world, online education, that piece is growing so much. So to be able to take my background and take those experiences, take that knowledge, those skills, package them into a course, and then offer them, to farmers and people looking to farm, and sell their products direct to consumer was kind of a no brainer for me.
So it sounds like you were kind of, I mean, like you said, you started farming then. Like, did the inception start whenever you were trying to figure out, like, hey, how do I sell this pasture pork, this pasture chickens? Like, how do I sell this? Is that kind of when the wheels started turning?
Yeah, for sure. We started farming kind of through COVID. I know a lot of people did. I'm a first generation farmer. It started
Mm.
with a Google search for me. It was like, how do I raise food, and for a family of four, right? And looking through the logistics of that and what it takes for a family, of four to be fed for a year, I think I came across like a half beef, two or three hogs, maybe 70 chickens, something along those lines. And then went down the rabbit hole. I'd had Pastured Poultry Profits on my bookshelf for a long time, by Joe Salison, so I dove back into
Hmm.
that. And then, like you said, it's like, okay, I know how to sell things online. I've never sold farm products, or I've never sold meat off the farm. So there were some things to figure out on the production end. For me, that was the biggest learning curve. As far as marketing digital products, building a brand, building email list, marketing funnels, all those things, I just applied those previous skills and knowledge, and they translated well, and I was able to sell. Grow the farm brand really quickly. We were able to sell out. I mean, every time we had processing dates, we sold and sold and sold out. And then I was able to help some of my friends. I've got several farmers that farm around me, and was able to help them and kind of implement some of the same stuff. And that's when I was like, man, I feel like I'm kind of on to something. There's definitely a need here.
That's awesome. Okay, I want to pick your brain on this a little
Yeah.
bit because I've been trying to rework mine a little bit, and that's the whole concept of a marketing funnel. So, what is a marketing funnel? What does yours look like?
Yeah, so marketing funnel can be a lot of things, right? At the end of the day, if I were to give you like the textbook definition, it's just taking customers from point A to point B, right?
Mhm.
And then what our objective is during that point A to point B. Obviously, for farmers, it's to convert them into a sale of farm products. For different businesses, it might be different things. At the end of the day, when they start at the top of that funnel, we're calling them cold prospects, right? So there's different types of funnels, different level of funnels. I'd say from a basic standpoint, we're starting with cold prospects. These are prospects that know nothing about you. They know nothing about your podcast. They know nothing about the listeners' farm products that they're farming or raising, growing, trying to sell, right? So they're first introduced to you at what we call the top of funnel. And from here, they're going to go through a series, whether that's landing pages, email marketing, it might even be content on social media, but they're being warmed up to you, right? They're learning about you. They're learning about what it is you do, what you have going on, things that are important to you, things that you're speaking on. And then through that process, they're building connection with you. They're connecting with your brand. They're learning about you. And they're starting to build that sense of connection, which ultimately we're leading them to this bottom of funnel, where now they're not a cold prospect anymore. Now they're a warm prospect, and then ultimately converting them into a sale.
So really really good advice, and I've been following a bunch of people. I listen to a guy. He has the creative. I forget what his podcast is. I need to look it up, but the creator science. That's it. His name is
Yeah.
Jay Klaus, and he was talking about marketing funnel earlier. And I haven't really had anything like set in stone. Where it's like I have Facebook to get engagement, then the website, then the newsletter, then the podcast, and so it sounds like the marketing funnel is really a very intentional way to capture people's attention and get them to, first obviously know about your brand and then eventually get them to buy from your brand. So it seems like you have to be very intentional about how that funnel works.
Oh, absolutely. I tell people something I preach to all, my clients all the time is sell solutions and not problems.
Mm.
And it sounds a little tricky, but really at the end of the day, what's really important about funnels, because I started kind of threw a marketing lingo in there, but it applies to funnels so much because during that whole funnel process, no matter what we're putting these people through, if we're putting them through email marketing, if we're putting them on landing pages, if we're targeting or speaking to them in any type of way, we want to speak to them in a way that connects with things that they care about, right? So I talk to farmers all the time about this, and something I know as a farmer myself, like we want to post on social media about what we're doing and things that matter to us. And obviously our farming practices are super important. I'm all about transparency in that, personally for our farm, and I definitely advocate that for farms. But at the end of the day, our customers or potential customers that are going to put this food on their dinner table, do they care about our farming practices? Sure, they care. Should they care? Absolutely. But to a certain degree, they have their own life, their own desires, their own things going on. And so, if
Hmm.
we can position our brand and our products to them in a way that's going to solve those problems for them, maybe it's a mom, right? And, providing, clean food that she can trust on her dinner table, easy, right? For a family of four or, however many kiddos she's got running around, that's a big deal. And so, throughout this whole funnel, you talked about, really being intentional. If we're able to speak to that mom throughout this funnel, again, on our website, on our email marketing, in our messages that we're corresponding with her, if we're able to speak to her in a manner that relates to things she cares about, we're gonna go a long way in building that trust and connection with our farm brand, and ultimately make more sales.
So how does it go? You hear this term a lot, the avatar, like our perfect
Sure.
customer. Like, what all goes into building that avatar? Like, I know, I mean, for farmers, really, I guess you could say a farmer would want everybody to be a customer, but I mean, that's not inevitably going to happen. So, like, how exactly do you focus on who your perfect customer is?
Yeah, that's a great question. I was actually working on some of that stuff today for some of the content I was building out.
Nice.
So it's kind of fresh on the mind. So that's nice. It's I primarily work with farmers that are selling meat products direct to consumer. I've
Mhm.
worked with produce farmers, a lot of market gardeners, even some people that are doing bee products and selling some different value added products. But at the end of the day, for farmers that are selling their meat products, whether it's beef, pork, chicken, lamb, whatever that looks like direct to consumer, getting really dialed in about who you're selling to. You brought it up. Like, yes, everyone's hungry, everyone needs food. But at the end of the day, wherever I put my efforts, right, either that's marketing dollars, it's my time making social media posts, my time writing up an email, I want to make sure that the content I'm putting out there is created for that, you said that customer avatar, that that ideal customer, that dream customer, I like to call it, right? And there's several reasons why that's super important. One, as small independent farmer myself, which is I'd say probably uh 40% of the farms I work with are small, independent, first generation farmers. I'd say the other 60%, are multi-generational, a little bit larger operations, that sort of thing. So
Okay.
the dynamic changes a little bit between the two, but for the most part, if we're doing paid advertising, email marketing, whatever that looks like, we want to make sure that we're really dialed in, on who it is that we're reaching out to, and the margins that it takes us to grow something, they're going to be tighter than the margins it is for someone that's growing on a commercial level or in a commercial house, in that type of system. So at the end of the day, typically our products are more expensive, right?
Mhm.
And we got to have customers that are willing to pay those products. So if we're not super dialed in about the people who want those products and who are seeking those products out, then we're kind of shooting ourselves in the foot, right? We're trying to sell a product to someone that is never going to buy it in the first place.
Okay. Yeah, that's very interesting. I mean, the market is it's so weird. Like, who would you say is the competition for those farmers that are working with you?
Competition as
As in, like, who are they kind of not really marketing against, but are they competing against, like, like a town's butcher shop
yeah,
or like a
got it.
Publix or a Walmart or something like that?
Yeah, I definitely say the grocery stores. I wouldn't say the local butcher shops. At the end of the day, I think farmers that are selling direct to consumer, I think their biggest battle is convenience, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even if we're growing a great product, it might be a pasture raised product, might be something that is, just a high value added product, whatever that looks like. At the end of the day, typically it's harder to get our products than it is stopping at the grocery store, right? So even if a customer wants to buy our products or they're seeking out the products that we're raising, whether that's beef, chicken, pork, whatever that looks like, if they stop at the grocery store and that item's sitting there and they're like, oh, I'm not going to drive out to the farm or go to the farm stand or wherever it looks like, I'll just grab it here. So
Mm-hmm.
convenience is definitely, I'd say the biggest obstacle that farmers have to overcome.
And yeah, and kind of going against that. Like I know when it comes to direct to consumer, there's a bunch of different options. You can either sell it directly to consumers or ship it to them. You can do
Yep.
farmers markets, farm stores, stuff like that. So, what advice do you have on people that are trying to decide which avenue to go down?
You know, that's a great question. There's really kind of there's a lot on the board there, right? Depending on the
Hmm.
farm and the operation and what you have access to. One big thing for me coming from a digital marketing background is the ability to scale, right? So
Mm.
you can only, as a farmer, you're wearing all the hats already, right? You're out there, you're growing the product, you're raising the livestock, you're out there late at night when you need to be, you're selling, you're marketing the product, you're running the finances, you're doing it all. So if you can put yourself in a spot where you can sell product and not take more of your time, that's a win-win. I kind of tell everybody, look, I look at it like spokes in the wheel, right? Website's great, but it's not the only thing. You can't have a website and not have good word of mouth marketing, right? So as far as where to sell, I think diversity is, or being able to diversify your sales outlets is huge for farmers. I personally really like being able to sell online, have farm pickup. I think farm pickup super convenient. People want to be able to come out to the farm, see the farm. Typically, the farmers live on the farm,
Hmm.
have some type of farm stand or place to pick up. So I think that's a win-win. If you can build, your own customer database that's kind of willing to come out to you to buy from you, you're winning on so many different levels there. You mentioned shipping. I think shipping's great. There's definitely some hurdles there in getting started, and what that whole piece looks like. Wholesale stuff is even an option. I know we're talking. I typically really help farmers grow their direct to consumer sales, their
Hmm.
retail sales. But at the end of the day, a lot of the farmers I work with, they sell a lot wholesale, and that's not going to
Mm. Okay.
change. And I'm not trying for that to change. At the end of the day, if we look at an operation, looking at it like a pie, right? They might sell 40%, wholesale and the rest retail. And so they're able to diversify their sales outlets, through those. So I think that's a great thing. I think wholesale also lets farmers be able to grow, helps you scale. It says, hey, you know what? I know I have this base foundation right here that's already kind of pre-sold or I've got a contract on, and then I can grow X on top of it. And then, a lot of the different outlets we've talked about, work. I know, like farmers markets, things like that, they're great.
Mm.
I definitely, when I talk to farmers about those type of events or those type of sales outlets, I encourage them to, build their own system, build their own networks. They don't have to rely on those. Now, if they're going to those and they're in a really successful market, and it's really good for them and they enjoy going, that's kind of the biggest thing, I guess. They enjoy going to the market. They enjoy connecting with those customers out there and having those conversations with real people, which is huge. Again, you can't replace that word of market, that word of mouth marketing. Then by all means, keep going to the market. But just realize that it's not always scalable for you to continue to do that. So I definitely kind of lean towards more of those scalable options like selling online, more of those things.
It's interesting how it's not really one size fits all. Like what works for one farm might not work for another. I mean, there are so many farms I know that they only sell at farmers markets and that's super profitable for them. And then some
Yep.
that try it and it's just miserable. So it's, I guess, I mean, like you're saying, like you've got to diversify, see what works for you, what doesn't. So I know a family farm, you probably know 'em, Lazy Acre Farms in Marietta, Florida.
Yeah, I know the name. Yeah.
It's the Zigglers. Yeah, I think, yeah,
Okay.
Ryan Ziegler. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, they've got a farm store in Mariana that they have, and people go there, and then they come down here to Panama City, Florida, and they do the farmers markets every Saturday, and that's their audience, and they do
Yeah.
it, and they are super good. Have a very passionate fan base, and they figured out what works for them, which is
Sure.
amazing. And so it's fun to kind of see once those farmers hit those strides and they found their audience. Like it seems really the sky's the limit with how much they can grow.
Sure. And you take someone like that, who, like you said, they've got a brick and mortar location. They're doing really
Mhm.
well with it. People are coming there. But you even put a really good email marketing strategy behind something like that. To just alert people about sales going on or different events or different things. And so that's where some of that digital marketing can really enhance stuff that farmers are already doing. And so that's what I've been really passionate about doing is helping farmers grow. Right. As I got into farming, I really, I really have a passion for helping farmers. I mean, the as a first generation farmer, I didn't have land to inherit, right?
Mhm.
Getting into farming is hard. Starting with infrastructure is hard. I think the direct to consumer path offers first generation small independent farmers a path towards farm ownership and a profitable farm. And I think it offers the multi generational farms that we kind of talked about that are larger operations, an opportunity to diversify and build some sustainability for the future. And I want to see American farms succeed. I want to see American farmers succeed. So I'm kind of like team farmer, right? Whatever I can do to help farmers, sell more of their products at retail prices, I'm all for it.
No, I don't blame you. That's awesome. And so, last thing, well, not really last thing, but whenever I think of direct to consumer, I think about shipping across the country.
Yep.
Like whenever somebody wants to go that route, they want to try it. Do you recommend, I don't know, like a radius where they should maybe experiment first instead of saying, "Hey, I'm in Florida, let's see if we can get an audience in Oregon." Like, do you think they should rein it in a little bit?
Yeah, so shipping is kind of a beast in and of itself. Depending on the size of the operation and how much product they're producing on a monthly basis and what that looks like, figuring out shipping schedules. It's super helpful if someone does want to start shipping. To possibly do that biweekly. Or just on
Mhm.
Mondays or even once a month to help with just there's a lot of different things that go into shipping. We're talking about coolant. Dry ice is kind of the preferred coolant for shipping meats and keeping them cool at temperature. And that dry ice can be tough to source. There's minimum order quantities if you're getting that commercially or through wholesale channels. If you're having to drive to Publix and pick up dry ice when it's available, or at another grocery store supplier, it can be tough. So that's kind of a one thing is figuring out that just the volume that's going out on a regular basis. And then to your question, as far as where you're shipping to, yes, absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of different discounts you can get. I personally, through my program, I set people up on the Shopify platform.
Okay.
And so Shopify does a lot of discounts, on shipping. It's kind of built into the platform. I think they get like 80% off of shipping through all the carriers through their partner program. But now that you're getting the shipping labels at a discount, and you start to look at these different zones that you can ship to, right? That, all the different carriers break the zones down differently, and then
Mhm.
you can start to see what pricing per package size per weight looks like in these different areas. And so I think I think the whole direct to consumer movement, a lot of it is about local food. So, personally, I kind of have that conviction that I think local food should kind of stay local as much as possible. Now, obviously, if someone wants my food and they connect with me and my farm story and they want to buy my food, by all means, we'll ship it to them. Right. But definitely, we're going to, start in an area that's, somewhat local, tapping into those local markets. If I have someone, for myself, I'm an hour outside of Atlanta. So if I was working with someone like myself, as a client, we'd definitely be like, hey, let's tap into that Atlanta market. We can ship into that Atlanta market for $12 a shipping label for a 40-pound box of, beef. There's plenty of people right there that we can build your business around, and we can be processing 30, steers a month, and be selling into that Atlanta market.
That'd be incredible. That's something I'm always talking about on the show. It's like decentralizing our food supply chain. And I think like we have so many farms and ranches, family farms and ranches that we could really do this, especially if a lot of them start to sell direct. Especially with how many farms and ranches would you say would I don't know, how many farms and ranches would have to serve Atlanta for maybe Atlanta to only eat beef within that radius?
It's a question that I don't have, real numbers to, right? But
Mhm.
if you were in agriculture or you're around agriculture, we have to be able to do it.
Oh
You
yeah,
know,
yeah,
I, I
yeah.
I mean, there's so many people here that are producing beef. There's so many farmers that have 20, 30, 40, 50 head of cattle that are just selling them at the sale barn, right? Those are getting picked up. They're going to feedlots somewhere. They're going all across the country, right? But there's enough cattle here in our local market to feed Atlanta. There's enough chicken here to feed Atlanta. We're just not set up that way. I think it's unfortunate, for a lot of different reasons. I would love to see it, like you say, become decentralized and, really take that on and grow in that capacity. That'd be awesome. Unfortunately, it's such an uphill battle. It's really hard to see that. I mean, you see the momentum, you see people desiring local food. It's just, we still have a long way to go.
So that decentralization is something that I really hear a lot from with Joel Salatin. And you said you've read his books. Like, what are some of the
Yeah.
biggest takeaways that you've learned from him? 'Cause we had him on the show months ago, and it was phenomenal. Like, what are some of the biggest takeaways from him that you've had?
Oh, hmm,
Not to put you on the
you
spot,
know,
because he's got a lot of
yeah,
them.
no, I'm thinking, yeah, he does, and that's kind of where, I think the biggest thing, I'm gonna, I guess, kind of almost go off farming here, is just, he's a great guy.
Yeah.
I think he carries himself really well. Obviously, he speaks well, which is something that,
Hmm.
I've, tried to work on and definitely look up to him too. He speaks so well for being a farmer, communicates so well, and I think that's something really admirable about him, and the field that he's in and the field that he represents. I posted a reel, when he was at the House of Representatives talking about I think it was HR, the Prime Act.
Hmm.
And did a really great reel for me. It was like 2.5 million views. It was like, got me a bunch of followers. It was super cool on Instagram. But I think part of that, he advocated for farmers so well.
Hmm.
And I think that's something that, I really value a lot from him. As far as growing in the farming side, I think it's just that you can do it. Like when
Hmm.
we started our farm and our little operation, kind of coming through COVID, we bought 50 meat birds. You've probably heard this story before. I'm not the only one that has this story, and it's come from him. And we bought 50 meat birds and, raised them in the front 2 acre pasture that we have here. And that's how we got started. And this year we'll do a couple thousand birds, so we've scaled that operation and been able to do that. And it's been really great for us. But it started with him. You don't, basically saying, you don't need all this, right? This is all you need. You can do it. And here's the steps to do it. So that's been, super helpful, from him.
Yeah, he's an amazing educator and speaker on all things agriculture, and he's so bold in that if there's anything wrong in the industry, he will call it out,
Yeah,
not to shame anybody, but to make the industry better and to educate everybody. I mean, and
that's
he
right.
he shares the story about how whenever they bought their land, nobody wanted to buy it. They said farming would never work there, and then fast forward now, it's
Yeah.
their grass is so great, the animals love it, like it's just such an immaculate piece of farmland. And yeah,
Yeah.
he's like, yeah, everybody can get into farming. Like, we need more people to get into farming, and it's very approachable. Anybody could do it.
Yeah, and now that you said that, if I could go back and redo my answer, would be him saying there's a different way to do things.
Hmm.
As a first generation farmer, I always say it's like a blessing and a curse, right? Like, I didn't know how to, tighten a fence. I didn't know how to, put fence posts in, right? I didn't know any of these things when I started. I had to learn them, right? I had the digital marketing background, but I had to learn all these basic farming things. But I was starting from scratch. I was consuming as much content as I could. I was reading, I was learning, I was trying to learn how I could take care of the chickens as best as possible, right? What's my brooder setup need to be like? What am I looking for? What am I watching for, right? Once I get them out on pasture, what does that look like? And starting with someone like Joel Salatin's content, and then, a lot of others that I've, dove into as well, it's like being able to start there and say that, hey, there's a different way to do this than the way that everyone else is doing it. And
Hmm.
I'm definitely very appreciative, of him and a lot of others, like I said, to show that there is a different way.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people kind of, this is the way we've done it, and this is the way will always do it. But I feel like there's kind of a trend in people like, hey, let's try it this way. Like,
Yeah.
it's never been done. Why don't we give it a whirl and see what happens? Which I love it. I mean, it's getting, people are getting more bold and more risk taking, which honestly, maybe the pandemic kind of caused everybody to look in the mirror and it's like, hey, we need to take more risks because something like this might happen again, and we need to diversify. We need to figure out what works best for us.
Yeah, I love it. I think the biggest thing I love about farming is the ingenuity, and trying new
Mm,
things. I mean, you said it. I
hmm.
think a lot of farmers get stale, because maybe they're in a commercial type of operation. And I'm not knocking those operations. I have a lot of friends and family that have those types of operations. But for myself personally, being able to try new things. Like currently, we're getting ready to plant an orchard, where we're going to run our chicken tractors through an
Mm,
orchard. and kind of make little lanes, alleyways where we can run our chicken tractors through. And something I'm trying out, something I think, there's obviously a little bit of a benefit of, having the orchard and having a little shade for the chickens being able to fertilize the ground. There's kind of that symbiotic deal going on. But at the end of the day, we're giving it a shot. We're trying it out. Obviously we're small time, and we're not going to change the world in the way that we're farming chickens over here necessarily. But the thing that is, I want to kind of tie that to is marketing. Marketing is the same way, right? I mean, you try new things, right? At the end of the day, we talked a little bit about a funnel. We talked about all these different things. And there's a lot of these things are proven systems that do work, but you've got to try new things. You can't be scared to, present your product in a different way, or maybe on a different sales channel, and then see what happens and adjust from there. I mean, that's what you do with farming, right? You see what happens and then you make adjustments.
100%. That reminds me of the old FFA motto, doing to learn. Like, hey, we're
Yeah,
just doing it to see what happens. We're going to learn, adapt it next year,
I
and
love
kind
it.
of see what happens. That's awesome. And kind of going along social media, like, what do you recommend to people when it comes to social media? Like, should they pick one flat platform? Should they do all of them? Should they give Threads a try? Should they give up on Twitter? Like, or I'm sorry, X, I guess. Like, what's your recommendation there with social media?
Yeah, I got several things, coming to mind. First, we talked about wearing all the hats as a farmer. You only have so much time. It's definitely your
Mm,
most valuable asset. So not spreading yourself thin. I think, putting content out there is somewhat important. But spreading yourself on all these different platforms, it's really just not worth it, because at the end of the day, these social platforms, they're not made for selling. They're not made for selling farm products. They're not the best place to sell farm products. And I see a lot of farmers get frustrated trying to sell on, Facebook and Instagram. And Facebook and Instagram are great for building, notoriety. They're great for building connection and for building a little bit of your brand, but they're not the
mm,
best places to sell. That algorithm, anytime that you say, hey, we've got our, our whole beef shares are available, they're ready for pre-order, that once that algorithm knows you're trying to sell something, it's gonna suppress those posts, right? Because the algorithm is created to have a social platform. It wants things that are engaging, that are they're funny, or they're whatever they might be. And those are the things that they're pushing because they want people spending time scrolling. A lot of people aren't spending time scrolling looking at your whole beef deposits that are available, right?
hmm
So at the end of the day, I think my biggest suggestion would be to look at social media as a way to connect, create awareness, build your brand, and then try to have a strategy to convert those followers into, maybe that's customer contacts, an email list, something like that, and then selling to them that way, maybe on a landing page and some different things. I can cover. I think one big thing I'd like to share, because it's something I think is a lot of value here in this, is
hmm
I kept saying, connect to your brand, use social media to
mm.
connect and build brand. And I think it's so important, to reiterate to farmers, to myself. I got to tell myself this all the time, is that branding is not your logos, it's not your colors, it's not your website, it's not all those things. Branding, really, what I tell my clients, branding equals connection, right? Whatever you put out there, whatever you as a farmer, you as, whatever it is that you have going on in your operation, things that you're personally interested in, that you're connected to, that you're sharing about on social media, are the experiences and connections that people are going to feel with your brand. So for
Mm.
myself personally, and what that looks like, and that's the difference in a personal brand and like a commercial brand, right? So at the end of the day, people are buying from local farmers because they want to be connected with that local farmer. They want to feel that sense of connection, right? They're buying from me. They're not buying from Tyson. There's definitely a difference between one is, Mike and his local farm, and one is Tyson and whoever's underneath that, right? Because it's just so
Mhm.
big. So what we're looking at here is, like, I'm a father of two. I got two little girls, right? So family matters to me. My faith. I'm a Christian. That matters to me. There's things that matter to me that I share about on my social media page. Now, there's people out there that are seeking out farm products that those things matter to too. It may not matter to them, and they're not going to follow me, or maybe they're not going to feel as connected to me, and they might feel more connected to a different follower or different farmer who's got different interest or things that they're posting about or sharing about. But the things that matter to me in my life, and a lot of the reasons I farm and the values that I have, that's part of my brand, and that's what's going to draw people and draw those connections into me, and ultimately build that loyal customer base, that we want to be able to grow food for.
Now, do you think building that brand, you also have to does consistency of your posts and your content kind of play into that brand?
Absolutely. I mean, that's that whole, there's that whole piece there, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I personally cannot stand social media. I wish I could delete it on my phone tomorrow. I did 100 reels in 100 days when I
Mhm.
kicked off my social media page, and so I committed to posting a reel every single day for 100 days. I think I made it 30 or 40 days in or something. I had that Joe Salatin reel that went viral, so I got like 10,000 followers. So I was happy. That was kind of, I checked that box, right? I wanted that social proof is what I
Mhm.
wanted. I wanted that social proof for people to see my page, see the content I was putting out there, but hey, this guy, maybe he knows something, right? You know what I mean? He's not
Yeah, yeah,
doesn't have 200 followers. So that was kind of my big box I checked. And for me, posting consistent content matters because I want to be able to provide value and help farmers. For farms, there's definitely that battle of the algorithm, right? At the end of the day, I think, like you said, building that brand, yes, you got to be consistent. You got to continue putting out things that matter to you, matter to your farm, matter to what you're doing and things that your customers are interested in, and hold high value of. But then, there's kind of that catch 22 of like, you know, um, I think it's great sometimes to take a break. I think
Oh,
it's great
100%.
I
Yeah.
think it's great to share that. So something we've done with our farm is like always in the winter, and we do it like right after Christmas because I do this whole pre-sold season thing, which I'd love to share about if you want to hear about it.
Oh,
'Cause
yeah, sure, absolutely.
I think it's super cool. But after the end of the year, we do like, hey guys, we're taking 2 months off social media, like January and February. You're not going to see anything from us. We hope you guys will connect with family during this time. We're going to take a break. Boom, and make a thing about it, right? Instead of
Mhm.
just kind of disappearing. And I think there's a lot of value there. I think personally, as just you know, as a dad, as a husband, as a farmer, I think there's a lot of value in that. I think a lot of farmers would get a lot of relief from doing that occasionally. And I think your customers and followers, understand. I think they get it as well.
Yeah, that's so tricky in the very busy months of, October, November, December. And
Yeah.
I've started to do that. At least take like the last 3 or 4 weeks off of December and just start anew in like the middle of January. And it's so refreshing because I mean, you get away from it for so long and then you're like, "Oh man, let me go back and start making some content." And it kind of like, I don't know, recharges your batteries because you're not getting drained all of it. So that's a good idea though. I like it because you're encouraging everybody else to kind of take a break, not just like here's the reason, like let's enjoy the holidays with friends and family instead of just, doing the same old and checking social media every day.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
I like that. Yeah, let's talk about more about the pre-sold thing. I know that's a big thing when it comes to selling direct. So tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah. So, I'll kind of throw some, shameless plugs in here about my program and kind of what I do. But, I'm all about providing as much value as I can. So, I don't, I want to share stuff that people, that are listening can have some actionable steps. If you guys have, direct to consumer farms and you are looking into the 2024 season and you're planning and you're thinking about, what that year looks like for you. I think there's some really valuable stuff that I have to share here as far as pre-selling your season or pre-selling, a portion of your season, whether that's whole and half beefs, pork, chicken, whatever, through a program that we've done for our farm. So, there's a lot here. There's a lot inside. I think there's a lot of value here. I'll try to stay off the marketing jargon the best I can. It's tough sometimes, but essentially what we did is we've built a program for our farm called Pastured Chicken for the Year, or I think we just called it Chicken for the Year. And so what we did is customers could allocate a certain amount of birds. It was 75 birds or 37 birds for a family of
Mm,
two, throughout the year. And we gave that to them in 7-week intervals, basically 4 times a year. And so that way they didn't have as much, freezer space to worry about. So if maybe people are doing beef or, pork, maybe they can, do a half at the beginning of the year, then a half at the end of the year. That way someone doesn't just get, stuck with the whole, I know the freezer space and money sometimes can be a whole thing all at one time. But the idea is that when we're coming into the beginning of the season, we do what we call like this big marketing push, right?
mhm.
So all through the holidays, we push Chicken for the Year as a fantastic, option to buy for family and friends, right? So this would be a great gift to buy for whoever it is in your family that's looking to secure nutrient dense food for their entire family for 2024, right? Coming through the new year, we do a big marketing push. And this is all tip. When I say marketing push, I'm mostly talking about email blasts. So we do like this email system that's like growing, right? Like it starts
Mhm.
slow and then it's like getting more and more intense as we get closer to the new year. A lot of people are making New Year's resolutions, and we want to, again, selling solutions and not products, and position our product as a great solution to that mom. For us, moms are, that homeschooling mom is our ideal client, it's our ideal customer. For most of you guys that are selling farm products direct, that will be for you too. They're the one making the decisions on the food that's going to go on the table, right, at the end of the day.
Mhm.
So we're putting this product, we're putting our chicken for the year up to them, is like, hey, are you looking, to provide nutrient dense food for your family for 2024? Where all our chicken for the year is a great way to go ahead and secure that, right? So we're trying to put this up there, like, go ahead and, lock down, commit to those New Year's resolutions, right? By buying our chicken for the year. So
Mm.
we're presenting this product to them in that way. And then we do something what we call, I don't know if you're familiar with Alex Hormozy.
Yep, yep.
Yep. So he created what's called like kind of the irresistible offer. I don't know if he created it, but he's one that's definitely, written a lot about it.
Yeah.
And for you guys that aren't familiar, if you ever walked into like a hardware store or something like that, where, you saw like maybe they have a drill set and you're going to get a socket set, and it's like all these things, right? And they're all on discount, and you feel like, how can I not buy that? Right. And that's that idea, that feeling that you feel like that deal is just too good. Like I gotta take it. I gotta get it. That's that
Mhm.
irresistible offer, right? And so we've tried to create that with our chicken for the year. And so what we did for that is we created a system, video training system, because I have a video background. I know a lot of farmers like, well, I can't do the video thing, and that's fine. Maybe there's, a company that you can partner with. Maybe it's, seasoning, chicken seasoning or barbecue seasoning. Maybe it's a grill master kit or something like that
Mm.
that you can pair. So again, we do a video training on like how to cut up all your whole chickens, how to make your own chicken stock, how to make your own bone broth, and then, seasonal recipes throughout the year. So the way that we present that on our marketing funnels is, when you buy the chicken for the year, when you commit to your New Year's resolutions of providing this food for your family and buy our chicken for the year, you're also going to get training on how to cut these birds up, how to make your own chicken stock, how to do this. And so we're trying to provide value again for that mom, because that's our dream customer,
Mm.
who is, those are her goals. She wants to be able to provide that food for her family. If she can have resources to do that, then we're value stacking and building that offer specifically for her, right? So that's kind of, that program is a piece, like small piece of the pie of kind of like what I teach. That's obviously taking some of the principles that I teach and applying them to a specific time period of the year around, the new year and holiday time. But I think there's a lot of value. And I think that, without necessarily even working with me, or, so I have a course and a coaching program, and without necessarily working with me, I think, a lot of your listeners they can play with this, they can try this, they can offer something. I don't know if you've seen a lot of the, like, I know there was an ad out. I don't know if it was Good Ranchers or one of the big, farm delivery brands were doing something at some point where it was like, hey, if you bought this amount of food, you also got a free like mini chest freezer.
Oh,
Um,
really? Okay. No, I didn't see that.
this was
That's
a while
awesome.
ago, and they were
Yeah.
running this as like a paid ad on social media. And that idea, I would imagine, now I'm not saying that I know this, but I would imagine at some point they were connected with someone to be able to make that deal happen for them. And I think the same thing works for us. I have a video background, so me making the video training made sense for me. Everyone who's listening, you have something you bring to the table. You have a connection. Maybe you know someone that, makes something that's some type of cooking appliance or hardware, or maybe it's, you know, um, something with grills, or I'm kind of spitballing here, but you have something that you can offer your customers that's going to be valuable to them, that you can offer along with your, your pre-sold season, whatever that is, whatever that looks like for you. And, at the end of the day, you are investing time, potentially money, if you were to, purchase a grilling, maybe it's a meat thermometer, right? I
Mhm.
know with a lot of, farm fresh products, right? If you can get them right to that right temperature, get them off the grill, they're going to be so much better, right? They're fresher, they're going to be great. So maybe it's that meat thermometer. Maybe you're getting a $40 meat thermometer off of Amazon, and sure, you're investing that $40 in that meat thermometer off of Amazon to include in that bundle for your whole and half beef orders. At the end of the day, though, what does that $40 translate into you as far as conversion rates, how many more people end up buying because they're like, man, they're going to hook me up with this whole, PDF about, how to appropriately make my steaks. And they're going to give me a meat thermometer. And I'm like, I'm in, right?
Yeah. That value stacking is phenomenal because I mean, if you buy like a half beef, that's a lot of meat you got to cook, and some of it you can't cook like the others. So by creating that video and those processes, you're taking so much more responsibility off the consumer's shoulders. Like I know it's more work, but those consumers are going to see, hey, like they have done literally everything for me. I can buy the beef, and they're going to give me videos on how to cook it, seasoning, like it's all right there. It's packaged as that, so that's perfect. And I really like the one about the chickens because I feel like if somebody wanted to buy some whole chickens, they'd be like, well, what do I do with the bones? What do I do?
Yeah,
And I don't want to waste all this money. Oh, you can do stock. You can do so much more with it. So by providing that, I feel like that's a win-win. That's awesome.
absolutely.
Um, yeah, that blows my mind. I haven't seen a lot of people do that, but I think that's wonderful, and I like the idea of the meat thermometer. And I've seen companies like ButcherBox, for example. I mean, they're like one of the biggest out there.
Yeah.
They do what they like. If you buy a box, you get like 2 pounds of ground beef every time. I mean,
Yeah.
consumers know how to buy ground beef, so that's like a freebie. So it's like you're going to get that, and you're going to try all these other meats. So the hook
Yeah.
there is
Yep.
the ground beef.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's a lot of strategies there and different techniques they're using. They do a great job with it. I think they were doing the free bacon or something too for a year if you
Oh yeah.
signed up or something like that with them. And so they're using a lot of the same strategies that I teach inside my program about growing that email list, like you said, hooking people on, getting them onto the next product. Obviously, they're bigger and they're at a pretty large scale, so they're able to their margins probably look a little different than a lot of farmers, so they're able to kind of play around some there. But there's a lot of value in paying attention to what they're doing, how they're marketing, what type of offers they're offering. At the end of the day, that's a really big deal. um, there's something I want to share too. I've jumped around a bunch about some of the different things I was doing, I'd love to share about websites and landing pages.
Oh, please.
um,
Yes, absolutely. I love to geek out over websites, and all the guests I have on, I like to check out the websites and see how optimized they are. So please talk about websites and landing pages.
Yeah, yeah. So again, I just we jumped around the pre-sold season. I think I mentioned landing pages, and I just wanted to clarify because I
Mm,
don't know that everyone necessarily understands what's meant by a landing page, and nor should they, right? I mean, farmers have never needed to learn these things. These are things that I
mhm,
kind of accumulated over a decade of marketing and running businesses and doing all different kinds of things. So when we think about a traditional website, right, I typically think about that menu that's got that about us page. It's got maybe a shop page. It's got a contact page. There's all these different things, right? And then you're going to land on what we're going to call like the homepage. Typically the homepage, might have images, different things on there, but it doesn't always have products and it doesn't
mhm.
always have everything there. And so just the world that we're living in, um, I read this book the other day. I don't know if you've read it. It's Brandon Kane's book, that Hook Point book.
Mm-mm. No, I haven't.
You need to get it, Brandon.
Okay,
Good point.
got it.
Trevor, just you need to read that, Trevor. If you guys are listening, you guys need to read that. So much good stuff in there, and really, so the thing is how to stand out in a 3 second world, right?
Mm,
So he talks a lot about just how to hook people and how to grab their attention, and in an authentic way, right? Something he talks about is the difference between clickbait and a hook, right? A hook hooks them to bring them to something authentic and real and of
mm,
value that matters to them. Clickbait is like it grabs your attention, you click on it, and then like the article's not even about what you clicked on, right? It's
yep.
garbage. There's no substance to it. And so when we look at a website, we want to optimize them, in a way to not only hook people but keep them on there, keep their attention because we do have something as farmers to offer them, right? And so if we're looking at like that traditional website, it just typically does a poor job. If we're thinking again, I always talk about that mom. She's in the carpool line picking her kids up. Maybe she's scrolling through social media. Maybe she clicked on a link. Maybe she saw an email from you. Whatever the case might be, she hops over to your website. She's kind of scrolling through the homepage. She clicks on the menu. She doesn't quite know where to go. The worst thing that can happen is that she clicks on a third party. She clicks buy now and goes to some third party page like a barn to door loading page or one of these other things, and then off site to something that you don't even own, right? Which is just, please guys, don't do that.
Mhm.
But if she does stay on your page, sometimes it's tough to find where to buy, and then if everything's right there. So the idea of a landing page, it's just an extension of your website. It's another page that is hosted on your website. The idea of a landing page, though, is that you can get everything typically in a few scrolls, right? Everything that you need. So information about this farm, maybe their farming practices, and we're talking about, little snippets. We're not talking about big, huge, long paragraphs.
Hmm.
Um, some different products that this farm offers, maybe some different products that can even be purchased right there from that landing page. But essentially, all the information someone needs to assimilate, to know about you, know your farm, get a little bit of an idea about, some of the values you have, and that sort of thing, but then also what it is you're producing and what's obviously for sale. And so a landing page, if we're going to be really strategic, we're going to build landing pages around offers, around products, and around people. We're going to, segment. So segment is just kind of a fancy marketing word of like breaking down your customers into, different demographics, right? If I get that homeschooling mom, I might have a different landing page that I send her to than I have that barbecue grilling enthusiast who I'm
Mm,
trying to sell my, brisket and, Boston butt package to, you know what I mean, box that I'm selling, or whatever that
hmm.
looks like. And so my landing pages, then I can start to customize them. They're actually built for my specific users, right? So again, I keep going back to the homeschool mom, or the mom who's got the kids and she's got the family and she's wanting to provide for them, and building out a landing page that's speaking to her, that she's feeling connection with, right? And so that's kind of the difference in websites and landing pages. I hope I kind of touched on that a little bit, but I think it's big because at the end of the day, what you're going to see, we're talking about conversion rates, right?
Hmm.
A lot of farmers think they're going to get a website and they're going to all of a sudden, boom, sales are going to start rolling in, and that's just not the case. If you don't have a strategy for driving traffic to that website, nothing's going to happen, right? So if you do develop a strategy, whether that's paid advertising or organic content or whatever that looks like, that traffic now that we're paying for, either with our time in creating content or through paid advertising, we're going to have a certain conversion rate, right? For every
Hmm.
100 people or 1,000 people or whatever, how many of them are buying? And if we have a web page, a home page that's tough to navigate, or they're jumping off and we're sending them to some other thing that's got another hoop they got to jump through, right? It's confusing. They look at the URL and it's not even your URL anymore. And this whole thing, right? Then our conversion rates they're gonna suffer. They're gonna decrease. If we got a page that's optimized, we talked about those cold prospects, turning them into warm prospects. If we're
Hmm.
putting these warm prospects on a page, talking to them about things we already know they care about, and putting products in front of them they're already seeking in a super convenient way, all in one scroll, we're going to watch those conversion rates, increase. So I think that's something that's really big. I know, building out your own website, um, websites in general. I know, Trevor, you said you like to nerd out on it. I would imagine most farmers that are listening do not like to nerd out about that.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, but I think the simple key takeaway here is if you think about it almost like a magazine, when you open up a magazine, right? It's like you don't want to have to flip through every single page just to find something like what you're looking for. If you can flip to
Hmm.
one page, it's got that headline, it's got that hook that hooked you in, but it's got a little information on there. You're now aware of what you're reading and what you're looking at. And then it's got what you're looking for on there and the information. It's all kind of right there, right? That's what we kind of want to do with our website.
No, that's all perfect. I'm very guilty. I don't think I have a good landing page on my website. And I mean, the keyword you said there is convenience. I mean, when somebody visits your website, they don't want to have to they don't have a map to figure out what page to go to. They want it to be as convenient as possible. And if they're like you said, like that mom looking for good chicken or whatever, they want to see it right there on the top of the website. They don't want to have to like pick apart the website. So having a landing page is a great idea to kind of further filter them into those demographics that you might
Yeah.
have, whatever that is. That's perfect.
Yeah. So like in part of the system that we've put together and through my course and my coaching, again, if we have, I'll go back to that mom, but just kind of reiterating some of the things we're saying. If you've got them, right, they've already been in your email marketing for 2 or 3 months, right? If I'm going to send them a link in my email, if I'm going to send them an email, now I'm gonna throw in selling solutions and not products right here. But if I'm going to send
Mhm.
them an email about our new chicken bone broth, right? First of all, I'm not going to title it "New Chicken Bone Broth," in stock. I'm going to title it, "Hey, are you looking for a way to heal your gut?" or to improve your gut health, our chicken bone broth is a great way to do that, right? So now I'm speaking to her, something that she cares about, improving her own personal health. I'm putting my product as an option to do that. That's the email I'm sending her. And there's a link, right? And I'm going to put a link in there. Is that link, am I going to send her to my homepage? Am I going to send her to my barn to door page? No, I'm going to send her to a landing page that is built specifically to the offer that I already spoke to. And I'm going to see conversion rates, be much, much higher.
Now, I mean, as somebody that runs a website, like, do you need to keep tabs on those landing pages and like further adapt them? Because you don't want somebody going to a landing page that the offer maybe doesn't stand anymore. So how up to date do you need to be with those landing pages?
Yeah, so there's several. Something that that I offer in the course is I told you we build out on the Shopify platform. Little
Hmm.
plug for Shopify. I get nothing for this. If you guys are looking for somewhere to build your farm website, or maybe swap, or looking for something, look to Shopify. There's so much free, great content out there. All the biggest farm brands are on there. I mean, I got the White Oak Pastures hat on.
There you go.
Um, they're on Shopify. Five Marys is on Shopify. All the big brands are on Shopify. It's the biggest e-commerce platform in the
Mm.
world. So it's got all the tools that you need. It's super user friendly. And so I actually was able to make a template of our landing pages, our files, our website, all those things. So anyone who joins the course or does my coaching, they get the template file that they can upload that's got all these different landing pages. And now some of the landing pages are more permanent landing pages, like we talked
Mm.
about. Like we've got different opt-in pages if we're doing giveaways for products, trying to build up our email marketing list. Those landing pages, they kind of exist. They're not linked to the homepage. So if I sent you a link to the homepage, you wouldn't be able to find them because they're just unlinked, right?
Hmm.
Someone would only get those if they're, signing up for a giveaway or, whatever that looks like. Other landing pages are more permanent. So maybe they wouldn't be a landing page. They might be more of like a sales page, and we can use them more permanently. But like you said, offers change. I'm not going to make a landing page for every single email I send out. That's just a ton of work. But we're going to be strategic about how we set those up. And it's kind of, it ebbs and flows, and there's definitely changes, and there's different cases that it can be, both or stay the same.
So I just thought about this. Have you tried to incorporate ChatGPT and other AI products into this whole thing?
Yeah. So I have a product that I would love to come out with um, using AI and Chat GPT. I think would be really great for farmers in the farming community.
Mhm.
As far as this, building out the funnels and that sort of thing, I haven't personally been on any of the like AI funnel builders. I don't know if I mean, I've had Chat GPT. I've prompted Chat GPT to build me like a hierarchy of a funnel, and seen some of the stuff it can do, and it does a good job. I'm not always super pleased with it, but it at least gets me a good starting point.
Mhm.
It's kind of like it's like a really, really strong brainstorming session that I can work off of.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
essentially. Mhm.
yeah, I know there's a lot of AI out there that will build landing pages, based on a lot of the things we're talking about. But I haven't dove into. I don't know if you have.
I haven't either. Yeah, I've only done Chat GPT, and then I use Notion for all of my podcasting stuff, and it's got a built-in AI. And I didn't know this, but it will obviously it like tracks your Notion database. And I was like, hey, Notion, help me come up with a good social media content strategy. And it
Yeah,
published one, and it was like, on Thursday, share farm tours. On Friday, share what consumers should know about farmers. I was like, oh, this is actually pretty good. And so, yeah, like you
yeah,
said, it's kind of like a glorified like brainstorming session where you can go off of there. Like, I
yeah.
wonder if if more people could use that, because ChatGPT is good, but you've got to use it the correct way, like you said. And I didn't know this for the longest time, but you've got to prompt it to ask you questions so it can give you more precise answers for what you're looking for. So yeah, maybe people can use it a little bit more.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I think there's a definitely a lot of value in when we start looking at like email marketing, and you said social media,
Hmm.
and creating that content. Chat GPT is great for that, especially like you said, if you're prompting it well and you're getting it to understand what it is you do and you produce and you're offering, it can do a really good job. Giving some stuff. I you know I you know I go back and forth on it sometimes. Sometimes I'm like, man, I need Chat GPT. It's going to help me get this email started. Other times I'm like, Chat GPT is not my friend. It did not do good for me last time. I can
Yeah.
write better than Chat GPT 10, and I'm going to do my own thing.
Yeah, that's funny. It's pretty much pass fail. Sometimes I have it redo an email for me, and I'm like, that is awful. And other times I'm like, that's spectacular. So yeah,
Yeah.
hit or miss.
Yep. Yep.
Well, Mike, this has been awesome. But before we let you go, obviously tell us, you've told us a ton about it, but tell us more about your coaching and about your course. It's over at directfarmroadmap.com.
That's right. So, I've been doing a little bit of coaching for a while,
Hmm.
for a few months now. So the coaching's, one-on-one coaching. It's a 4-month program. You get weekly calls with me, and we walk you through what I call the Direct Farm Roadmap, which is a step-by-step guide to implementing all the things that we talked about. So, all the funnels, email marketing, setting up your website, all these things. I kind of am your personal guide through that, and we walk through that. What I've been working on for the last, talking about, we started this conversation talking about online courses, digital courses. I've been working on this course for about 2 years, ever
Okay.
since I really started, really diving into the farming community, put a lot of content into it, a lot of work into it. I'm actually super excited because I am announcing today, really figured out, I think after this, I'm going to get ready to go on, go make a reel about announcing
Hmm.
this. We're gonna launch the course on November 17th.
Oh,
So
heck yeah. All right.
I'm going to launch that course with a free live training for anyone who wants to join that live training. We're going to dive into all the systems, a lot of things that I do that are going to help your farm, sell more retail products and ultimately earn more profit for the farm. And through that live training, I'm going to do a special offer on November 17th where we're going to do, we're going to start with the course at $499. Just so
Hmm.
you guys that were curious how much that was going to cost, there you go. But on November 17th, we're going to do a steeply discounted rate for that on the training on that live launch date. So if you guys are interested in joining that training and getting a chance to get access to that, I've got a link here, and it's www.directfarmroadmap.com/training. At that link, you can drop your email, and I'll make sure that you get hooked into our email marketing and you get all the invites. I'm actually dropping some sneak peeks of the course through that drip email as we build up to the 17th. And so the course, essentially, I go from A to Z in covering everything that a farm would need to sell. I mean, I literally start with, how to pick out a farm name, how to,
Hmm.
do the very, very basics, right? All the way through, working through some of your brand stuff, working through setting up all of your email marketing, setting up your automated software for your emails. You get all of our templates for our proven emails. We set up your website. We go through step by step how to set up Shopify, how to do all the fulfillments, how to, make any changes. Like I mentioned, you get that zip file. That's a, upload file that you can upload into Shopify. So you've got a theme file, which is basically kind of like a building block, if you will, to kind of work off of. So you're not starting from zero when you build your site. It's a little more plug and play when you have that.
Hmm.
And then we go all the way through paid advertising. So we dive into the full funnel. We go how to, run, profitable Facebook ads for farmers. That's something that, is a whole world of its own. When we look at, retargeting ads, like, if you get on Instagram or Facebook and you were on a website and you see another ad that came from somewhere, they're retargeting you. So I teach farmers how to do that for their farm brands, how to hook people into those funnels, go from cold prospects to warm prospects, at the end of the day, make more sales. So we cover a lot in the course. I think it's right now it's over 30 modules and over like 6 hours of total video content.
That's a lot of
Um,
content. That's awesome.
yeah, it's a bunch of stuff in there. I actually just got done with my promo video. So Trevor, I want to send it to you just for you to see.
Nice.
And you
Okay.
let me know what you think
Preview.
of it. It's
Will
preview
do.
preview. And then, we're gonna roll out. I'm really excited about this. And like I said, I want to be able to help as many. I think, and I know I've said a lot, but I'll say this, one last thing. I think for so long, farmers never needed these skills.
Hmm.
They just weren't necessary, and so they never had to learn them. And I think I've been fortunate enough, just had the background of learning these skills, and I'm trying to package it in a box and hand it with as much value with everything that I've learned to farmers to be able to implement all these strategies, to grow their farm brands.
Yeah, I mean, you're giving them such a great product. I mean, it's a great investment for them to, I mean, future proof the business almost to like change how it's going and also like to give them more power in, how they're marketing and how they're, I don't know, like reaching their customers. So this is huge. I'm so excited that the algorithm let me find you. And I really hope that, I mean, this is a lot of really really valuable content that farmers and ranchers around the country are going to get. So I'm excited to see this new course and everything launch, man. This is a lot of great nuggets and wisdom, and I'm going to have to get with you after the interview because I've been toying with the idea of starting like something kind of similar to this. So we'll have to
Yeah.
talk after.
Oh,
But
I'd love to share.
yeah, but Mike, thanks so much for being on, man. Best of luck. I'll include the link that you mentioned in the description as well as some links to those videos that you mentioned. But thanks so much for being on, man. And thanks for what you do.
Yeah, thank you, Trevor. I really enjoyed it.